Well, just a few hours before we tape this broadcast, we got word that our long national late nightmare is over. Because Disney announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live will return to air on ABC tomorrow, Tuesday night.
Well, the late nightmare may be over for Jimmy Kimmel, folks, but it appears to just be getting started for Donald Trump. Because hours before kicking off his comeback, Kimmel is already trolling Donald Trump and MAGA in a way that is both subtly brilliant and humiliating because it will very likely go over MAGA's thick skulls. I promise it's actually not that deep, but you have to remember, this is MAGA's
the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
It's too bad we only learned recently that things like ivermectin, brain worms, and being born into the Trump family were linked to being a fucking moron.
Putin is smart. Our leaders are dumb.
The first word I won't repeat even on your show, the second of which was moron.
Okay, I'll throw it in there.
That's pretty much on point. That's
yes,
right.
A moron.
Right.
More on that story later, but if you love seeing MAGA get ridiculed while getting their comeuppance, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe to Really American, and let's break down this humiliating story, starting with the fact that MAGA conservatives are now trying to boycott Disney after the left boycotted them out of $4 billion, and it's really not going well for them. I'm not even going to read Matt Walsh's post, I'll leave it there so you can read it yourself. But Megyn Kelly, of course, had to say, must be nice to be a leftist, quote, cancellation last 5 nights, and you're right back under Klieg lights. On the right, you're underground. An absolutely wild thing to say given the situation around this cancellation. But I digress. MAGA is doing what Trump does in court, namely shitting their pants, and Trump's FCC chair TV attack dog with way less fur is doubling down, saying the local networks like Sinclair should continue to preempt or not play his show, which it seems they're doing in some cases, but more on them again at the end. But quick spoiler, there is a list of their sponsors that you can boycott at the end of this video, and trust me, you will want to. And even though Kimmel is returning, there was speculation that it would be a state-approved, lighter version of Kimmel.
But now, after having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, the ABC says, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday.
And while thoughtful conversations does sound like having to do that bullshit work training you always have to, many are still afraid that Kimmel won't be his normal self. But this story gives us a hopeful glimpse that he will be, because today, he used his first social media post since his suspension to subtly but poignantly address the controversy. Kimmel shared a photo of himself with iconic TV creator, anti-Trump figure, and free speech advocate Norman Lear on Instagram, writing, "Missing this guy today." Here is the picture of them both on his Instagram. Here's the caption, "Missing this guy today." We'll go through the comments in a second, but if you do not know who Norman Lear is, Lear, who passed away at the age of 101 in 2023, was the creator of primetime 1970s sitcoms like All in the Family, The Jeffersons, and Sanford and Son, and a longtime champion of progressive value. He was famously outspoken against the FCC, bringing a successful lawsuit against the regulator in 1976 after its nationwide, quote, family viewing time ruling required all programming between 7 and 9 p.m. to be suitable for all ages. And that suit led to a California federal court striking down the policy, ruling that it violated the First Amendment. And as if that wasn't direct enough for lobotomized MAGA morons to understand, it gets better. That same decade, Lear was placed on President Richard Nixon's, quote, enemies list for helming All in the Family, which broke new ground in tackling social and political issues. Lear was also a frequent critic of Donald Trump, telling the Daily Beast in 2016 that the billionaire was a thorough fool, which is actually just a nicer way of saying,
yes,
right.
A moron.
And this comes right after, as we talked about, all of the boycotts. On Monday, you had 400 Hollywood stars, including Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, and Jennifer Aniston, signing an open letter condemning Kimmel's suspension. And the comments on this post, folks, are just incredible. You have Rosie O'Donnell, one of the top ones, saying, "Kill it tonight, feel all the love." We love you from Canada. He is proud of you. And my personal favorite, I stand with you and Tylenol, Jimmy.
I said, well, let's see how we say that.
But listen, folks, while this is a very positive turn of events, albeit likely a financial one after all the damage that boycotts wreaked on Disney's stock price, this is still a situation rife with danger and anti-American fascist fuckery. This administration, these corporations, the FCC, and now these broadcasters do not have your best interest at heart. And in fact, I would argue they have every reason to sow even more division. Just listen to the absolutely horrific 1984 level shit that Sinclair Broadcast Group, the people trying to block and preempt Jimmy's show from coming back, have been exposed for doing in the past.
Did the FBI have a personal vendetta in pursuing the Russia investigation of President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn?
Did the FBI have a personal vendetta in pursuing the Russia investigation of President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn?
Did the FBI have a personal vendetta
in pursuing the Russia investigation of
President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn?
Did the FBI have a personal vendetta in pursuing the investigation?
It could very well be true.
Yeah, but you could say it could very well be true about anything. Are all peanut M&Ms just snake eggs painted different colours? Do foxes walk on their hind legs when no one is looking? Is there really only one Olsen twin who's moving back and forth at superhuman speed to trick the human eye into seeing two of them? All of those things could very well be true, and aside from that one about the Olsen twins, none of them are. Sinclair's content can often not be optional. They regularly send out what are called must-runs, segments that station managers are directed to work into their broadcasts. Both Boris Epstein and Mark Hyman segments are must-runs, and so are some news segments. In fact, let me give you a taste of a must-run story that ran just a month before last year's election.
How can Americans, especially blacks and Latinos in America, support Hillary Clinton?
It's a surprising message coming from a black pastor. But evangelical Bishop Aubrey Shines is spreading a message of why he believes Hillary Clinton's Democratic Party isn't good for black Americans.
Party that gave this country slavery, the KKK, Jim Crow laws.
Whoa, hold on. Just hold on a second there, because first, Democrats gave this country slavery? It's a little more complicated than that. Sure, someone gave me this haircut, but I'm accountable for being comfortable with it, liking it, and keeping it around for a morally repugnant amount of time. But the truth is, if you work at a Sinclair station, there is only so much that you can do. And should this Tribune acquisition go through, there are going to be even more good journalists having to see their hard work placed alongside terror desk nonsense. Just as there'll be even more unsuspecting audience members who'll be getting a heaping dose of Sinclair's content, possibly without realising it. So you should find out who owns your local stations and bear that in mind as you watch.
Yeah, as insane as that is, that's not even the half of it. I highly recommend going back and re-watching John Oliver's deep dive on this. It is well worth it, especially given what's happening. And like I said, right after I sign off here, I will leave the updated list of sponsors for Sinclair so that you or anybody can boycott them if you so choose. And I will say, it does feel incredible to see something like this work, even if it's in a small way, even if it's Sinclair is still going to preempt Jimmy's show. This is one of the clearest examples I've seen yet that we can actually fight back, and fight back very peacefully without even putting ourselves in any sort of danger going to protest, which I would still do and highly recommend people do. But this is simply doing by not doing. Not buying these products, not supporting these companies. We are voting with our wallets. And in the postmodern capitalist hellhole we find ourselves in, barreling towards techno-feudalist fascism, this feels like the most significant personal power grab we could have yet. That, and of course, donating your money and spending it in places that do good things, like supporting independent media, joining our Patreon, subscribing and liking this video. Selfish plug. But you know what I mean. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you're seeing this during or after Jimmy Kimmel's show that's airing tonight, please let me know all your thoughts. I can't wait to see them. If you want to see video coverage of what happens on his show, I know a lot of you said you don't watch cable. Let us know in those comments too, and I'll make a video about that coming up tomorrow. For now, that's all from me. Here is a creator telling you all of the businesses you can boycott for Sinclair. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Disney has given in to boycotts, and they are going to let Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. However, Sinclair Broadcasting said they refuse to air him. Now, a few days ago, I shared that Sinclair Broadcasting isn't just in the business of broadcasting, they have investments in many different companies. I shared some of those companies, and I like to think it was me, I'm the problem, it's me, and they took down that portion of their website. However, I took screenshots. So let's talk about some of the companies that Sinclair has investments in so we can continue boycotting them. First, we have Best Day Brewing. This is a non-alcoholic beer company that Sinclair has investments in. Next, we have Pure Roast Coffee Company. Their products can be found in Kroger, Publix, and National Grocers. Sinclair also has an investment in Crush Yard, which is a pickleball entertainment facility. They have locations in Kissimmee, Florida, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and they're about to open a new one in Nashville, Tennessee. They also have investments in Blue Wire, which is a sports podcast company. And they have investments in Wave Sports and Entertainment, which is also related to the sports industry. Now get your phones ready because I'm going to share the website that they took down listing all of these partners that they're invested in. Make sure to take a snapshot now. And of course, make sure you boycott all these companies.